Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I am so happy to have you here today. I post crochet tutorials varying from beginner to advanced about every week or so. So if crochet, particularly crochet clothing, interests you at all, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate all of your continuous support. And if you already have subscribed, then maybe consider liking this video or turning on notifications. Thank you so much. So today's tutorial is my very first take on fall crochet. We're getting to that time of the season where now I'm going to start dabbling in a bit of fall and winter crochet. But this piece I feel like is the perfect bridge between summer and fall because it allows you to still use your summer tank tops and your summer shirts and just make them a little bit warmer, a little bit cozier for fall. So I went ahead and designed this really cute shrug top, and this is the perfect use for scrap yarn. I just pulled up a bunch of old yarn from random projects and made two of these adorable shrug tops. So here is the tutorial for that. For this project, I'll be using a ton of different colors of yarn. This is perfect for all of your scrap yarn. I'm going for kind of a brown theme, as you can see here, and then I am going to be integrating a couple colors. So I've got like some blues and some greens I'm working in as well. This is all generally the same size yarn. It also is pretty much the same make of acrylic. I do have this one yarn here that is extremely thin, and I'm planning on adding it with other yarns to add a little extra color. So in the one I made previously, you can see I worked in some of that thin pink yarn with my green and brown yarn. So that's what this is going to be for, this extra thin yarn. So I will not mention throughout this video how often I switch colors or when I will be switching colors, because that is totally up to your personal preference. You can do this entire thing in one color. You can switch colors as often as you want to. In my mind, this project looks best with lots of different color switches happening randomly. So I will not be mentioning in this tutorial, like I said, whenever I switch a color. You'll see me doing it. I won't be talking about it because you can switch colors whenever your heart desires. So I'm just going to show you now. This is the palette I'm working with. Lots of different colors that all look good together. I have the one thin yarn I'm going to mesh in with the thicker yarn. And then for the hook size, I am using a 5.25mm hook. So this is my hook. This is my color palette. And now we can start by picking our first color and casting on. So I'm casting on. And then we are going to be chaining for just the front panel. So basically from one armpit to the other is what you're chaining for. And I'm going to go ahead and chain 44. But you can alter that number to whatever fits you best. 43 and 44. So here's my chain of 44, which is for our front panel. And like I said, you can add or take away stitches as needed. But now I'm going to chain an additional 2 to start our next row. So here's 1, 2 additional chains. I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go down past those 2 chains, insert my hook into the 3rd chain, and double crochet. So those 2 additional chains that we added just act as a double crochet, like so. And then we yarn over and double crochet right into that next chain or stitch. And now I'm just going to place a double crochet into every single chain all the way down to the end of this row. Okay, so I've now reached the end of the row, and I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, yarn over, turn our work, and now we can begin right up on the next row. So I'm going to go ahead and start this next row, and I'm actually just going to be doing 9 rows, including this one we already did. So 9 rows of whatever colors you want. I'm going to change colors here shortly, and I'll see you once I'm done with those 9 rows of double crochet. Now I'm just really quickly going to show you how to switch colors just in case. So you're going to end with your last double crochet at the end of the row, or if you want to, it can be the middle of the row too, like so. You're going to chain 1, and then I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a bit of a tail here so we can weave that in later. And now you're just going to pull your hook like so. And that locks the yarn in place, so you just cast it off. And now you're going to bring in your next color, which for me, my next color is going to be this very dark brown. And I'm going to insert my hook right into that last stitch where we cast it off. And I'm going to take this new yarn, and I'm going to bring it through, chain 1 to lock it in place. And now we're going to chain 2 because it's the end of the row. And now I'm going to start my next row with my new color. So it really is that easy, and I just thought I would show you quickly just in case you need the reminder or you haven't done this yet with color switching. So that is how it's done. And now I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of these rows. Here are my 9 rows completed, and I am doing only 9 rows because I'm making a very small front and back panel for this shrug. I'm making it just barely long enough that we can get a sleeve coming off of both sides, but if you want to make it longer, you can definitely add more rows. For the design I'm making today, we are going to do 9 rows, and now we're going to go ahead and start up on that first shoulder here. So I'm going to get my new color yarn, and I'm just going to insert my hook into that last stitch, bring my yarn through, and so I'm going to begin by chaining 2 and turning my work, and now I'm going to place a double crochet into the next 10 stitches. So here's 1 and 10 of those double crochets, like so. I am then going to place 1 single crochet into that next stitch, and that's going to help to slope this down and make the collar a little bit more rounded. So now I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, turn my work. I'm going to skip this first single crochet stitch that we made, and I'm going to just go right back into working into the double crochet, and I'm going to do my 10 double crochets right back to the end of this row. So the section we are currently making is one of the shoulders, and now you're just going to repeat this same process back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and do 7 rows of these double crochets, which makes the shoulder portion long enough to reach from a front panel to the back panel and just stretch comfortably over my shoulders. So I'll see you once I'm done with those 7 rows. Here are those 7 rows completed, so now you're going to go ahead and cast off. So just chain 1, cut the yarn leaving a tail, and just pull the hook, like so. And now we're going to do the same thing for the other side. So I'm just going to flip my work, and I'm going to insert my hook right into that first stitch of this row, like so. I'm going to bring my yarn through, and we're going to chain 2, and then I will be placing a double crochet into each one of the next 10 stitches. So 10 double crochets. 9 and 10 double crochets, and then again, to have that little bit of a slope in the collar here, we're going to go into the next stitch and place just 1 single crochet, like so, which that kind of brings the double crochets down at an angle and helps to blend it into the collar here. And then we're going to go ahead and chain 2, and skipping that first stitch of the single crochet, we're going to jump right into the double crochets and start doing rows of 10 double crochets. And I'm going to do the exact same number of rows I did on the other side, which for me that's going to be 7 rows. So I'm going to go ahead and whip out these next 7 rows quickly, and I'll see you once I'm done with that. Here is that second shoulder section here completed. I did 7 rows, which lines up perfectly with the other one we did. And I also ended up on the correct side here with the 7 rows, where I ended on the inside of this section here. If you ended on the outside, now you're going to want to cast off and then cast on for the inside, because we're about to make a chain that's going to connect this shoulder to this shoulder so we can begin the back panel. So in the very beginning of this video, when we started with casting on right here for the front panel, if you ended up doing the exact same number of stitches as I did, which was 44, then you're going to go ahead and chain 24 here. And if you did end up chaining a different amount than me at the beginning, then you're going to have to do the math yourself quickly. So on this sleeve we have 10 stitches, on this sleeve we have 10 stitches. So you're going to omit 20 stitches, and then whatever's left over is the number you are chaining. So because I did 44 chains in the beginning and I now have the 20 stitches already completed, I'm going to be chaining 24. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly make a chain of 24 stitches. 22, 23, and 24. And now I'm going to stretch this chain from this one side to the other side like so, and I'm going to insert my hook right into that first stitch on the edge. And then I'm going to slip stitch this together. So I'm doing that by yarning over once, pulling the yarn through both loops, and that is a slip stitch. So now I'm going to go ahead and cast off. Now you can see that we have this entire section here, which equals the same number of stitches on the front panel that we can work off of to create the back panel. So I'm going to turn my work, insert my hook right into that first stitch, and bring my yarn through, like so. I'm then going to chain 2, double crochet, and now you're just going to place a double crochet into every single one of these stitches, every single one of these chains, and then again every single one of these stitches to create your first of 9 rows. So you're going to do the exact same number of rows that you did for the front panel, now for the back panel. So I'm just going to go ahead and crochet these next 9 rows for the back panel, and I'll see you once I reach the end. I've now completed those other 9 rows, so now we have the perfect little body here for our shrug, and we're going to go ahead and start making the sleeves. So I made this long enough with the 9 rows on either side that we can just work all the way around, and that's going to be the perfect circumference for one sleeve. But if you did any extra rows and made this any longer than what is going to be just one sleeve around, then you're going to want to make sure that you slip stitch up a ways until you get to this point here. So if you made it any longer, you're going to insert your hook, bring your yarn through, and slip stitch or sew up along the edge until you get to the point where you want to start making the sleeve. But because I'm making this really small top here for my shrug, I'm just going to begin making the sleeve right away. So I'm just going to insert my hook right into that bottom stitch, and then going over to the other side, I'm going to insert my hook into the bottom stitch on this side. So it's perfectly lined up, and now we have this opening here that we're going to begin making the sleeve. So I'm going to bring my yarn through like so, and we're going to chain 2. And now I'm going to place a double crochet right into that first stitch. So then I'm going to place a double crochet into every single stitch all the way around, which it can be a little bit confusing because we're not working into the top of the stitches like you might be used to. We're instead working into the side of the stitches. So I'm just going to insert my hook right behind this first double crochet of this row and place a double crochet. And then we're going into this next double crochet, inserting my hook right behind it, double crochet, then again, and I'm just going to work my way all the way around, placing a double crochet into every single one of these double crochets. And then at the end here, I'm going to insert my hook right into that first double crochet that we made, and then pull some yarn through, like so, chain 2, and now we can continue around and do another row. So as you can see here, we're now working around on the sleeve itself, and I'm going to go ahead and just finish up this sleeve, changing colors whenever I want to, working my way all the way down until it's the length I want. And keep track of how many rows you're doing because you're going to need to do the exact same number on the other side. I believe in the previous project I made, I did 41 or 44 rows. So I'm going to do about that same amount. I'm just going to try it on here and there to make sure it's the length I want. And I'm going to go ahead and finish up this sleeve, and I'll see you once I'm done with that. Here is the first sleeve completely finished, and now this next step is optional. I just like the way it looks, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little border down at the bottom here. And I am using the super thin yarn that I use to mix in with this other yarn throughout my project, so it's quite thin compared to the other yarn, and I'm also using a smaller hook. So I've decided to size down to a 4.25 millimeter hook, and now I'm going to go right down to the bottom here, bring that yarn through, chain 1, and now I'm going to be placing 2 single crochets into every single stitch. So each one stitch of double crochet gets 2 single crochets, and I'm just going to do 1 row all the way around. Okay, and now at the end of the row, I'm just going to slip stitch right into that first single crochet that we made, like so, chain 1, cut my yarn, and just pull that yarn right through, locking it in place. So that's the first sleeve completely finished, and now all we have left to do is the second sleeve. So going over to the other side here, we're going to do the exact same process. I'm going back to my 5.25 millimeter hook now, the same one I was using before. And again, I'm going down to the bottom corner of the shrug, and I'm going to insert my hook right into that bottom stitch, like so. And now onto the other side, I will also be inserting my hook right into the bottom stitch, like so. Okay, I'm now going to take my yarn and just pull it right through those stitches, chain 2, and now again, we're going to place a double crochet right into that first stitch. And then we're going to place a double crochet underneath every one of these double crochets from these rows here, which again, it is going to look a little bit odd because you're not inserting your hook into an actual stitch. Instead, you're working into the side of a row, but you're just going to go ahead and place one double crochet for each one of these rows or stitches here on the side. Okay, and then just like before, I'm going to insert my hook right into that first double crochet of the row, slip stitch, chain 2, and then continue working around into what is now our next row of double crochets. And then you're just going to repeat that same process all the way down the sleeve, again changing colors whenever you want to. And then if you did add the little border to the other side, you might want to do the same thing to this side. So I'm just going to do this entire sleeve, and then I'm also going to go ahead and weave in all of these loose ends that we have just hanging out here. So all we have left to do is just this one last sleeve, and then your entire project is completed. Then you might want to go ahead and weave in these loose ends, and that's all there is to it. So I really hope that you like the way your piece turned out and that you have it completed in time for fall. If you do end up taking any pictures of your finished product, then please tag me in anything that you post, or just send it to me in my Instagram DMs, because I always love to see the things you guys end up making and the color choices you make with these projects. It makes me so happy. Comment down below what other fall crochet or winter crochet you want to see me make in these next few months, and I will see you again super soon. I have a couple really big projects on the way. I've got one I've been working on for a few months, so make sure you are subscribed and you come back to see that, because it's a big one. And I'll see you soon with another exciting tutorial or video. Okay, have a great day, have a great fall, great winter, have a great life. Bye.